Hello again, Year 3. I hope you had a really nice week and it's nice to speak to you again. So we're going to carry on looking at our topic for this half term, which is what does Islamic art teach us about Allah? And today we're going to focus on something called the Qur'an. I sort of mentioned this briefly last lesson, but the Qur'an is the holy book of Islam. So I'm curious, I wonder how many other holy books you could name. Yeah, okay, so there's the Bible in Christianity, the Torah in Judaism, the Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism. I'm sure there are others that you could have come up with as well, depending on how much you know about other religions. But the Quran is the main book for Islam. So Muslims believe that the Quran is the word of God, the word of Allah. They believe that it was sent down directly from God and then written down by Muhammad. So we're going to ask the question, why does the Quran often look so beautiful? Before we do that, let's remind ourselves about Allah, because Allah is at the center of this half term, because we're asking, what does Islamic art teach us about Allah? So Allah has always existed. Allah knows everything that can be known. Allah can do anything, is not restricted by the laws that we live by. Allah has no shape or form, and Allah is neither male nor female. So definitely be thinking, why might it be difficult to draw a picture of Allah? If I was to say, go away now and draw a picture of Allah, and you came back and it was someone with a smiley face, I'd say, well, they have no shape or form. And you came back and they were a man, I would say Allah is neither male nor female. If you came back and just try and imagine trying to draw something that has no shape. Impossible. So there has to be other ways that Muslims show their beliefs about Allah and show Allah in their art. So here are some different Qurans, 3 pages from these Qurans, and we're going to take a look at them and think of some adjectives to describe them. But first, let me just explain what you're looking at, because I've chosen 3 pages from 3 separate Qurans. They would have been owned by very, very rich people, like the leaders of these countries. This would have been about 500 years ago, so quite a long time ago. But you're just looking at one page. Most of these Qurans would have been about 400 pages long, so that's about the length of something like this kind of book here. So if you imagine all of those pages being as equally beautifully decorated as these pages in front of you. Now, this book here that I have, this cost £8.99, so it cost £9. Can you imagine how much more expensive it would have been if each single page in this book was written out by hand and then beautifully decorated for hours at a time by a professional craftsperson? Because that's what has happened with these Qurans. Not only do they include, remember that word, calligraphy from last lesson, so it is Arabic, but it's beautifully written Arabic. Here on this one in this blue ink, wonderful. And not only does it include the text, but there's such a high level of decoration on these pages as well. It's absolutely stunning to see these in real life. They are gorgeous, and also this one here uses gold ink, so it's even shiny and beautiful. Each page would have cost the equivalent of hundreds of pounds to produce, and then you produce 400 of those pages. So have a look at these and think about what kind of adjectives you would use to describe them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say stunning, beautiful, some intricate. I wonder if anyone said intricate. That means they're really detailed in really small ways. Absolutely stunning. So here's a bit of a closer look. Why do you think, if you were a sultan or a king back in these days, but even now people still produce these beautiful Qurans, why do you think you would have wanted to spend hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands and thousands of pounds making something so beautiful. It tells us something. It tells us something about the people who made this, and it tells us something about how important the Quran was to them. So I'm going to leave this question here for you. But here's our question that we're answering today in the booklet. The question is, give 3 reasons why a Muslim might want a beautifully decorated Quran. Have a think about why a rich person would spend all that money, why someone would spend all that time doing the calligraphy, doing the decoration. What does it tell you about how important the Quran and religion was to these people? Okay, so hopefully you've filled out your 3 answers. Let's have a look at some of the answers that I came up with and see whether they match yours. Number 1, out of respect for Allah. So nothing shows respect like spending all of that time and money producing something to make Allah great in your mind. To show off their wealth. If you were rich and someone came over to your house, they're going to spot that Quran and be like, wow, he has money. He's got stacks on stacks. He is rich. Out of respect for the book. So for Muslims, the book of the Quran, you have to show respect to it. So if you were in a Muslim house, you would have a copy of the Quran, but you're not allowed to just leave it on your ordinary bookshelf. It goes on the top shelf, on the highest shelf in your house. You don't read it on a table. You have a special stand that you read it on. So it's all to show respect for the book as well as for God, for Allah. To have something beautiful to look at, well, that one's very straightforward. I like looking at these beautiful Qurans. You can actually, the ones that we've got here, they're on display in the British Museum, British Library, sorry. So you could go and see those one day and have a look at how stunning they are. To remind them of the beauty of creation. So for Muslims, Allah made everything. And that means that Allah gave us the ability to make such beautiful objects. Allah gave us the paint and the ink and the intelligence and the skill to be able to make these. So it reminds them of the power that Allah has. And finally, to impress other people as well. I think that's really important, and it links into showing off their wealth. It shows them how devoted and how respectful they are towards Islam. So hopefully you enjoyed finding out a little bit about Islamic Qurans. I will speak to you next week, and I hope you have a really nice week in the meantime. Bye-bye.